let's say, so Bobby, when we were at the Evo OD Summit last month or 2 months ago, you gave kind of a story about boiling it down to why somebody may have come in for a consult but not scheduled surgery. So can you talk a little bit about that? Like how you
Yeah,
determine kind of make that, that capture?
I think there are, okay, one controversial point here would be like, there's a lot of doctors who are like, I don't want to talk about money. Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
talk about objections. Like, we'll let somebody else do that. And I think that as doctors get more and more comfortable with overcoming objections or even talking about price, it leads to overall more patients signing up for surgery. So I think that it's just important to understand that when somebody's coming in for it doesn't matter what you're getting them to sign up for. It's really just main two objections that they're going to give you, and it's either going to be cost or fear. But sometimes they'll give you fake objections like, I want to think about it. I need to talk to my spouse. I got to look at my schedule. There's plenty of these fake objections that are out there. And so I think that when patients come in, I think the more and more you just get comfortable with just being able to figure out like, okay, what's their true objection? Is it money or is it fear? And if it's fear, like, let me tell you about either patient testimonials or let me walk you through the process or, just trying to figure fear of the product, fear of the unknown, being able to educate them on those things, it's led to more patients signing up for surgery. So I think that it's number one, not easy to do. Sometimes in your stomach, you have this like feeling of like, oh gosh, I don't really want to ask this question. But number two, it's just like the more you do it, like the easier it gets. Like I imagine like when I was 5 year olds, like when they told me to brush my teeth, my parents did, I was probably like, no, I can't do it. I don't want to do it. And then eventually you're just like, meh, you just like get used to brushing your teeth. So I kind of feel like it's like that. It's just like with the more reps you get, the easier it becomes. Because truly, genuinely, like you want people to, sign up for surgery. You see the impact it can make. It can be life changing. But some people just need a little bit more uh, help along the pathway to get them to sign up.
Yeah, I think, it is fear or it is cost. And cost, I mean, there's natural barriers there that we can definitely provide value, but, everybody's got their own restrictions, their own limitations. Fear is the easy one. I think, especially with the new technologies. I mean, what you gave the example of the Evo, and you can talk about the data all day. You can talk about how safe it is. You can talk about the visual outcomes, and, those are all published and they're all very real. With the light adjustable lens, how long it takes. That's always something that I get kind of, well, that takes a long time. Well, the length of time is the fun part because you get to test drive your vision.
Yeah.
Becky, how do you do it in your practice when you're met with that resistance?
You know what's so interesting? So in a cold start, you get to do a little bit of everything, whether you're interested in doing it or not. And so kind of like you, Bobby, it's like, okay, let's get in the reps. And so a lot of times I get the opportunity to counsel patients, and that includes talking about finances. And that had been something that had been intimidating for a long time. Like we had an amazing counseling team. So I didn't have to talk about money. And I'm like, you know what? This is going to be a really cool opportunity. And I found that I can connect with patients on a new level, and I can instantly address any objections that they have and help them overcome it. They can answer their questions and they can come up with a solution they're going to be happy with probably within 3 to 5 minutes. And I think that having your doctor open some of those conversations makes the flow of the rest of the experience a lot faster. And I've noticed that patients get to their yes, whatever that is, so much faster. And so I'm a big advocate for doctors who are comfortable talking about money going there. We use a lot of different financing options for patients. So we always offer financing. We're quick to follow that up. So here's the price of the light adjustable lens. Here's the results. Here's my expectations. Here's the average cost for that. Most of our patients choose to finance surgery. We've got a couple different companies that we work with who can help with that. Let me get you some information before you go. And instantly like, oh, I don't need any financing. I'm ready to pay cash. Okay, great. So cost was not an objection for them. And then you can kind of, again, is it fear? We start every surgery with a nice anesthesia experience. You're comfortable, relaxed. So you can instantly address some of those questions in their mind. And I found that flow to be a lot more productive in our cold start. And every practice has a different system that they work within.
And you and Brad, I mean, your verbal anesthesia is also, I'm sure, very, very good, and that helps. And that's something that they definitely don't teach you in school. I mean, that is an art, and that's something that is learned on the job and learned on the fly. And some people have it, some people don't. Anu, what about you? In a larger practice, how do you deal with the resistance?
So I think the money question, the money question is the big $1 million question. It's the elephant in the room. I 100% agree. It's one of those things like you, Becky. I was really intimidated, in the beginning, and more just I just don't want to deal with it. I've got a million and one things to go over with you. Why am I going to waste my time with it? And of course, I discovered over time that really wasn't the right place, the right mindset to have, with these patients. And I think bringing up, anything kind of scary, anything that could be kind of a pain point in the doctor's lane will be seen completely differently. I could say the same thing as my clinical counselor, but they're going to hear it in a completely different way, in a different light, and they'll respond to that differently. So I think certainly opening that door is key. Having financing options is fantastic. Some of the other things we've used are, just weighing up the cost. So things like our EVO ICL patients, or our LASIK patients, or our PRK patients, for example. They're young, they're savvy. They can think about, how much will a lifetime of glasses cost you, plus your contacts, plus your backup glasses, your prescription sunglasses, all those different things, and kind of weigh it up for them. And so it's not, a big moment of sticker shock. It's that they've got time to sit with it. You're not really kind of giving an opinion. You're just kind of providing them with some facts and letting them digest it. And then they do get to that yes, a lot quicker.
One thing I like is the peas or carrots, method of talking with patients. And there's even this guy, like this really successful shoe salesman in New York. And like they asked him, like, what makes you so successful? And he was like, when people are picking out shoes, I only let them pick two. If somebody wants to pick a third one, I'm coming back to two. And I like that, because even if you think about like LASIK and ICL, and I think about a patient I saw today, and I'm like, if LASIK, I'm just going to make up some numbers here. Like, let's say LASIK's $5,000 and ICL $7,500. Together we have to decide is ICL worth $2,500? And then you get to kind of see, like, it's like we're on the same team. We have to decide together, and it's not like this like sales resistance. It's more like we're just trying to figure this stuff out together. And it's interesting because you'll get responses like $2,500. It's your eyes. Like, it seems like we should do the ICL. And it's like, great, let's do that. And it's just amazing how many more people you get to sign up for ICL just doing that. Or, the difference between, a toric monofocal and light adjustable lens is this. And so we have to decide, is it worth an extra, $3,000 or $4,000? And we have to decide that together. It's interesting to see people's responses. And it's more of like, we're trying to figure this out together, rather than it's like, oh, you're dropping me off with the sell. Oh, here's the sales guy. And it just creates this like negative juju.
It's a great trust, like the trust relationship there completely shifts the dynamic. 100% agree.
It's so funny. So in our clinic, we have this beautiful like glass walls everywhere, and we have this really cool room. It's got a great view, and it's all glass. And I was taking a patient back, and the husband, I could hear him like whisper to the wife, "Oh yeah, that's the money room. They're going to take us in there to tell us about all the money." And so I kind of disarmed him in the room, and I was like, "Okay, well, let's answer some of the financial questions and come up with some solutions that make sense for you and what you're looking for." And the husband was like, "Man, you really surprised me. So we're not going to go to the glass room and talk about money." I was like, "No, we just go over paperwork in there." And he's like, "Oh, this is kind of cool." So that price transparency, like you said, Anu, it creates a different level of trust and a connection. And Bobby, like you said, you're on the same team. It's a decision that they're making alongside you and what's best for them. And the finances are part of it.
But it's interesting. I mean, that is one controversy. Just get patients to sign up for surgery in the room, right? Instead of actually going to the scheduling room, because it's kind of like, oh, we're just in the exam room. We're just scheduling surgery. It's kind of, controversy would be like, I need my exam lane, but it'd be interesting. Just try that out. I mean, we have some really high level people on this call. It's like, try that out, see what happens. And look what happens to your conversion rate doing it in the exam room versus going to like the sales room.
Well, I feel like you do have like the emotional buy-in. Like I know, by the time I've kind of sent my patient over to the counselor, they're pretty bought in, and it's really just kind of dotting those, I's and crossing those T's at that point. So, yeah, I guess it's just a step further than that. It's really not that far of a stretch.
I kind of like so Bobby, is that how you do it? You schedule surgery in the exam room most of the time?
Yeah. Just like what day? January. Okay. Yeah. Great. Yeah. It's gonna be this much. Great. Awesome. Beautiful. Let's go.
That's great. Cause I don't think we have the ability to do that right now, the way our workflow is, but I don't like taking the patient to the money room, because that gives you the feeling of buying a car. We've all bought cars. We've all spent way too long in a dealership. And then you've got that guy who comes in looking all slick, and then he pulls up, well, let me go talk to my manager, right? And then it's negative.
Yeah.
Buying a car should be fun, right? You're buying
Yeah.
something new. It's a big purchase. It shouldn't be negative, and I don't want patients to feel like that. Just like your patient, like your anecdote, Becky. I mean, that's perfect. So the way we do it, I mean, we don't do it in the exam room necessarily as much as we'd like to. We usually do a phone call after. I tell patients that when I see them, like, we'll call you usually about 48 hours. We're going to give you 48 hours to digest this because there's so much stuff thrown at them. I mean, number one, you're cutting into my eyeballs. What? That's crazy. Number two, I'm going to have to pay $5,000-$10,000 for this. That's also crazy. I didn't know about that. I thought I was getting cataract surgery like my grandma did 50 years ago. And, bada bing, bada boom, you're out in a couple days. They have no idea what's coming. So I like to give them a couple days to digest it, and then not too much, because there's also a lot of negative stuff that they can research. So I don't want to give them a whole week because they can fall into some serious traps and talk to too many people. So 24 to 48 hours is kind of a sweet spot for us.